So this afternoon you will have the opportunity to discuss in details with our EFPIA coordinators about the topics. What I would like to emphasize is that indeed those topics were selected by our industrial companies, partners. I think it's important that even if you are not in the industrial sector, you realize that these topics are indeed of major interest, not only for the industry, but also for academia, SMEs, patients. Just think about oncology, the new targets that were recently identified, the new drugs which really revolutionized the treatment of cancer patients, the need for a better patient stratification in order to tailor the treatments according to the chance to get responses and so on. And this is really what those goals are about. For example, using different types of biomarkers, including imaging biomarkers, as you will hear this afternoon. Inflammatory disorders, there also we have a number of recent examples of drugs which are now blockbusters, things about anti-TNF or TNF neutralization biologics, which, as you know, revolutionize the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis and inflammatory bowel disease. But it is now clear that on this basis we have to build even more efficient and safer therapies for these inflammatory disorders. In terms of infectious disease, as you know, it's critical to develop novel tests which can be applied very soon after the first symptoms, possibly at the bedside, and those tests are important not only for the correct diagnosis, but also to detect very early on potential microbial resistance. And this is very important for the industry aiming at developing new antibiotics, for example. Knowledge management, that's really critical. And this is certainly an area in which we feel that the IMI could provide important added value. If you think about the amount of information which accumulates every day in labs, whether in industry or in academia, in clinical trial, and if you think at the proportion of all these data, of all these results, which are actually exploited, it's probably just a fraction. Why? Because data management is not organized in such a way that we take full advantage of the huge amount of information which is gathered in different labs and teams. So we would really like to organize in Europe systems which will allow a much better analysis and exploitation of the data which are generated in the course of research and development activities wherever they are located. So I'm sure that after the presentation of this morning, most of you are really considering to apply to a project launched by the IMI. I would just like to emphasize here that indeed your interest should not be only based on the fact that obviously wherever you are looking for additional resources and funds for your research or research and development or training activities. But I think it's also important that you have other motivations, and those motivations are indicated here. I think that you should have an interest in translation and accelerated the translation of basic knowledge into medical advances. And I put basic knowledge on purpose. IMI is looking for excellent projects based on, fundamental knowledge in biology and medicine. It's also important that you realize that the concept of open innovation, this is an open information day. You heard very often during this morning presentation the word open. It's a key word for IMI. And indeed, you will realize that both in the industry, which is currently building new business models, and in academia, this new way to collaborate, to develop research is really probably the only way to go in order to develop new breakthrough therapies. And for those of you who are really wondering, but what does it mean, open innovation? I think it's interesting to mention that you will find now in the literature, not only in the economic literature or in the business literature, but also in the scientific, in the best scientific literature, such as Nature Medicine, you will find explanation about this new concept of open innovation, of new way to collaborate between academia and industry, and the fact that this is really something we have to organize in order to develop breakthrough therapies. Now, more concretely, and this was already explained previously, I would like to summarize that to apply for the second call proposals, you have to understand that there are two stages. And that the first stage is the one I will concentrate on in this short presentation. It's a stage where academic institutions, other non-profit organizations, SMEs, which are partners eligible to get funding from the Innovative Medicine Initiative, have to prepare an expression of interest. Expression of interest in answer to the call. What's very important, as already said, is to read carefully indeed the document, and especially to read the section on the industry needs in this sector. Because remember that the successful consortium selected after stage one will merge, will find new partners from the large pharmaceutical company, and it is together that at stage two they will prepare the final full proposal. So in order to have the best proposal at the end, it's mandatory that at stage one you indeed consider what the industry is expecting for. Now, funding rules. So at stage one, what we are waiting for is a proposal, expression of interest, prepared by academia, small medium-sized enterprise, other non-profit organizations such as possibly patient organizations, which are all eligible for funding by the Innovative Medicines Initiative. And the rules for the second call are the following. As far as actual research costs are concerned, IMI will cover 75% of them, and we will cover 100% of the other eligible costs related to management and training. So you have to realize that the eligible costs include the actual costs, which are the costs needed, for example, for the research, plus an overhead which is fixed at a maximum of 20%. And it's this total amount which will be considered for funding by IMI, and it will cover, as I said, 70% of this total eligible costs. This is what we are looking for at stage one, and I will again concentrate on this because this is what's ongoing now.